Imagine the air thick with dread, a courtyard silent but for the rustle of silk. You're a samurai disgraced maybe for losing a battle or mouthing off to your lord. Doesn't matter now, seppuku's your ticket to honour, or so they say. They hand you the white kimono crisp as a funeral shroud, and you slip it on like it's your last Tinder date with destiny. The fabric's cool against your skin, but your palms sweat, betraying the calm you're supposed to fake. Honour's a funny thing, isn't it? Spill your guts, literally, and suddenly you're a hero again. Medieval Japan's logic, no plumbing, no mercy, just blades and bravado. The crowd gathers faces like stone masks, eyes darting to avoid yours. They're here to witness your redemption, but you'd bet half are just glad it's not them kneeling on the tatami. The white robe's supposed to scream purity a canvas for the crimson masterpiece you're about to paint. You adjust the folds meticulous because even in death, samurai don't do sloppy. A priest mutters prayers, his voice a low drone like a mosquito you can't swat. You catch a whiff of incense, sharp and cloying, mingling with the courtyard's dust. It's Kamakura, maybe 1300, and the air's heavy with the weight of Bushido, that code that says dying well trumps living free. Your tanto lies on a lacquered tray blade, glinting like it's winking at you. Ready for the show, it seems to ask. You don't touch it, yet ritual's got rules and you're not cutting corners before you cut yourself. The white robe's hem brushes the ground as you kneel, each movement deliberate like you're auditioning for a samurai Oscar. The crowd's silence is deafening, broken only by a distant crow's caw mocking your final act. You wonder if they'll talk about your courage or just the mess you'll leave behind. Spoiler, it's the mess. Blood's a better storyteller than honour. They say the robe's white to hide the shame, but it's a lie. It's there to make the blood pop a visual for the ages. You glance at your kaishakunin, your best friend turned executioner, his sword ready to end your suffering if you don't botch this. His face is blank, but his knuckles are white on the hilt. Loyalty's a bitch, huh? You almost laugh, but that'd ruin the vibe. Instead, you straighten chest out like you're posing for a portrait nobody'll paint. The robe's pristine, but not for long. One slice and it's tie-dye samurai style. This is Seppuku's opening act, the costume change before the gore. No rehearsals, no do-overs. You're not just dying, you're performing, and the audience expects a masterpiece. The white robe's your prop, your uniform, your coffin. In Edo, centuries later, they'll call this barbaric, but right now it's high art. You breathe deep, the incense stinging your nose, and wonder if honour's worth this. Spoiler, it's not, but you're too deep in the script to quit. Like Cher, tell us your creepiest ritual, what's crazier than dressing for death. You're kneeling now, the white robe pooling around you like spilled milk, but the real mess is yet to come. They slide a tray before you ink, brush paper, the tools of your final words. Seppuku's not just about guts, it's about poetry, because apparently you need to rhyme your way to redemption. Welcome to feudal Japan, where even death comes with homework. You dip the brush, the ink's acrid tang hitting your nose, and stare at the blank page. Your heart's hammering, but you've got to channel basho, not panic. Honour's on the line, and a bad poem's worse than a bad haircut. This is the Jisei, the death poem, a samurai's last flex. In Kamakura's courtyards or Ito's dojos, warriors like you scribbled odes to cherry blossoms or fleeting winds pretending they weren't about to bleed out. You grip the brush hand, trembling, and scrawl something about moonlight fading on a river. Deep right total nonsense, but the crowd eats it up, nodding like you've cracked the code to nirvana. Truth is, you're just trying not to puke. The ink smears under your sweaty fingers a black stain like the one you're erasing from your name. The crowd still silent, their eyes boring into you. Your kaishakunin stands nearby, sword ready, probably wishing you'd hurry up. Poetry's not his thing, but he's stuck in this macabre open mic. You pause, brush hovering, and think of your life battle's sake that one time you laughed till dawn. None of it fits in 5 syllables, so you stick to nature because that's what Bushido demands. Act like you're one with the cosmos, not a guy about to gut himself. The paper's fragile like your composure, and the ink dries slow like your resolve. They'll read your poem later, maybe frame it, maybe burn it. Doesn't matter. It's your last tweet before the void, a 14th century status update. Moon's nice, I'm dying. You set the brush down the tray's lacquer gleaming under torchlight. The air's thick incense mixing with the metallic hint of your tanto waiting like a jealous lover. You wonder if anyone will remember the poem or just the blood. Spoiler, it's the blood. Japan's got a thing for gore over verse, but you play along because that's the gig. Writing's done and the crowd shifts, sensing the main event. Your poem's a whisper against the scream to come, but for now it's enough. You fold the paper precise like it's a love letter, not a suicide note. The ritual's rolling and you're the star of this grisly show. No modern analogy does it justice, but imagine live streaming your last words, knowing the comments will focus on your guts, not your genius. Like Cher, tell us what's weirder than versing your way to death. The tanto's in your hand now, its edge catching torchlight like a cruel smirk. Your kneeling white robe pristine, but that's about to change. The crowd so quiet you hear your own pulse a drumbeat to your final act. This is Seppuku Kamakura style 14th century, where honor means slicing your belly open to prove you're not a coward. One cut and you're a legend. Botch it and you're a mess. No pressure, right? It's like medieval Japan's version of a viral challenge, except the hashtag is Dos Gutspill. You grip the blade, its weight heavier than your sins. Bushido says smile, so you force your lips to curl even as your stomach churns. The first cut's the star of this grisly show, left to right deep enough to spill your insides, shallow enough to make you linger. You press the tip against your skin, cold as a snake's kiss, and push. Blood wells, instantly warm and sticky, soaking the white robe like ink on rice paper. The pain's a white-hot scream, but you bite it back. Honor's watching, and she's a harsh critic. The crowd gasps, a collective flinch they can't hide. You're the main event, a samurai turning himself into a horror flick. Blood pools on the tatami, spreading like a red tide, and the metallic tang hits your nose sharper than the incense. Your hands shake, but you keep cutting because stopping's not an option. This isn't just death, it's performance art, and you're painting with your own guts. Imagine live streaming this on medieval TikTok. Zero likes all shock. The Kaishakunin's nearby sword ready, but he won't swing yet. You've got to earn that mercy. Your vision blurs pain, clawing at your edges, but you keep that damn smile. Why, because Bushido's a tyrant demanding courage, even as your organs protest. The robes are ruined now, crimson clinging to white. A grotesque tie-dye no one asked for. You wonder if the crowd's impressed or just nauseous. Spoiler, it's both. In Edo they'll refine this ritual, make it cleaner, but right now it's raw, messy, real. Your blade slips and you stifle a groan. Perfection's overrated when you're dying. This cuts the heart of Seppuku, the moment where honor and horror collide. You're not just bleeding, you're rewriting your legacy one agonizing inch at a time. The crowd's faces blur into a sea of dread and awe, their silence louder than any cheer. You'd laugh at the absurdity, but breathing's hard enough. The tanto's done its job and you're still here for now. Like Cher, tell us what's crazier than smiling through your own disembowelment. You're the Kaishakunin, the second standing with a katana that feels like a lead weight. Your best friend kneels before you, his white robe now a bloody rag tanto buried in his gut. Seppuku's rules are clear, he cuts, you end it. One clean swing to spare him the agony of a slow death. Easy right, except your hands are sweating and your heart screaming traitor. Welcome to feudal Japan, Edo period 1650, where loyalty means beheading the guy you shared sake with last week. Think of it as the worst bro moment in history. He's smiling because Bushido's a sadist demanding grins through gore. His blood's pooling, the tatami drinking it like a parched sponge, and the crowd's silent eyes drilling into you. You adjust your grip, the katana's hilt rough against your palms. Timing's everything. Too soon you dishonour his courage. Too late he suffers like a gutted fish. The air's thick with incense and iron, the stench of death creeping up your nose. You lock eyes with him, and he nods, a flicker of trust in his pain-clouded gaze. No pressure, just his life on your blade. You raise the sword muscles, tensing, and calculate the angle. His neck's exposed pale against the crimson robe, a target you can't miss. But your mind's a traitor, flashing to laughter battles. Promises made under starlight. Loyalty's a blade, and it cuts both ways. The crowd's holding its breath, waiting for your swing to seal the ritual. This is Seppuku's grim encore, where you're not just a friend, but an executioner. Imagine this on medieval LinkedIn, skilled in loyalty beheadings and existential dread. You swing the blade, whistling, and it's over in a heartbeat. His head falls blood, spraying like a broken fountain, and the crowd exhales a mix of relief and horror. The tatami's a slaughterhouse now, and your katana's heavy with more than steel. You wipe it clean, ritual demanding poise, but your hands shake. He's free of pain, but you're not. His ghost'll haunt your sake cups forever. In Kamakura they called this mercy. In Edo it's just business. Either way, you're the guy who ended your friend's story. This is the Kaishakunin's burden, love turned lethal duty over heart. You sheathe the sword, the crowd dispersing, leaving you with blood and silence. Like Cher, tell us what's heavier than swinging the blade that saves and damns. You're in a dusty square, Edo period 1620. where the air hums with tension and the stench of sweat. A samurai kneels on a platform white robe glaring under the noon sun, his tanto gleaming like a cruel promise. This isn't a quiet courtyard seppuku. This is public, a spectacle to shame his lord's rival. He's disgraced maybe for treason or just bad politics, but he's turning his death into a middle finger to his enemies. The crowd's a sea of faces, merchants, peasants, samurai, some awed, some horrified, all hooked. Welcome to feudal Japan's version of a viral roast, except the punchline's blood. He grips the blade eyes locked on the rival lord's banner flapping nearby. This isn't just about honour, it's theatre, a bloody press conference to expose corruption. You're in the crowd, close enough to smell the incense and see the sweat beading on his brow. He slices blood, spilling fast, staining the robe crimson as gasps ripple through the square. The axe deliberate, each move a calculated jab, his death screams, "You failed, not me." Bushido's twisted, isn't it, Dai, to win an argument? Imagine this on Medieval X just owned my lord with my guts. Seppuku savage. The crowd shifts, some chanting prayers, others whispering bets on how long he'll last. His smiles, fixed, mandatory, even as pain twists his face because a samurai's got to flex courage. Blood pools soaking the platform, and the rival lord's men look away, their shame louder than the drums. This is seppuku, as protest a power move that'll echo in tea houses for years. Your nose stings with the iron tang of blood mixed with dust kicked up by restless feet. The Keishakunin steps forward, sword raised, but the samurai waves him off. He's milking this for every drop of drama. Public seppuku's rare, reserved for moments when death needs an audience. In Kamakura it was raw. In Edo it's polished, a political chess move. His robe's a ruin now, white drowned in red, and the crowd's torn between respect and nausea. You catch a glimpse of his eyes, defiant alive, even as his body fails. The blade slips and he grunts, but keeps going because quitting's worse than dying. This isn't just a ritual. It's a statement etched in gore for all to see. Spoiler, the rival lord's reputation tanks, but the samurai's still dead. The square feels smaller now, the air heavier, as his blood paints the story of his defiance. You're just a witness, but you feel complicit trapped in this grim pageant. Like Cher, tell us what's bolder than dying to dunk on your enemy. You're kneeling tanto deep in your gut, blood soaking your white robe like a bad art project. It's 1350 Kamakura period, and the crowd's watching your every twitch. Bushido demands one thing now, smile. Not a grimace, not a wince, but a full-on, I'm fine grin, even as your insides scream and your vision swims. Seppuku's not just about dying, it's about looking good doing it. Because in feudal Japan, courage is your brand. One slip and you're a coward forever. Think of it as medieval Instagram, your last post better slay. The pain's a living thing clawing through you, but you force your lips to curve. Your teeth clench so hard they might crack, and the metallic taste of blood floods your mouth, bit your tongue grate. The crowd's silent, their eyes like needles judging your performance. You're a samurai trained to face death with poise, but this is insanity dressed as honour. Your robe's heavy, drenched in red, and the tatami's slick under your knees. The Keishakunin's ready, but you're not done proving yourself. Smile wider, they said. Sure, like it's a tea party, not a slaughter. The air's thick incense, battling the stench of your own gore. You catch a spectator's flinch and others nod, as if your grin's a badge of valour. It's not. It's a lie you sell to save your name, because in 14th century Japan, reputation outlives you. Your hands shake tanto slipping, and the pain's a white-hot wave, but you keep smiling because quitting's worse than death. Imagine this as a modern TED Talk, how to gaslight yourself through agony. The crowd buys it though, whispering of your bravery. Spoiler, they'll forget your face but not your blood. That smile's the heart of seppuku's madness, a mask for the horror unfolding. Your organs protest your breath's ragged, but you hold the grin lips trembling like a bad actor's. In Edo they'll call this noble. Right now it's just survival. The crowd's awe feels hollow, their silence louder than your pain. You wonder if honour's worth this charade. It's not, but you're too far gone to care. Like Cher, tell us what's crazier than grinning through your own destruction. You're a woman in Edo, 1660, bound by silk cords, kneeling on a tatami mat that smells of straw and dread. Seppuku's rare for women, but here you are disgraced. Maybe your husband's shame, maybe your own defiance. Men get to spill their guts. You get Jigai a gentler cut to the throat because feudal Japan's got gendered death rules. The Keishakunin looms katana ready, but first you've got to play the part head high hands. tied to keep you dignified blade cold against your neck. Honor's a cage and you're slicing your way out. Think of it as medieval Japan's worst gender reveal blood not balloons. The crowd's smaller than for men's seppuku, mostly family, their eyes heavy with pity and expectation. Women like you, samurai wives, daughters carry the family's name, and failure's not just yours but theirs. You adjust your kimono white as bone, knowing it'll be red soon. The cords bite your wrists, a reminder to stay poised, because even in death you're performing femininity. Your tanto's shorter, sharper, meant for precision, not spectacle. The air's thick with incense, but it can't mask the iron tang of fear. Bushido's not just for men, it's a noose for you too. You press the blade to your throat skin, clammy under its kiss. One cut quick and deep to prove your courage before the kaishakunin swings. The pain's a lightning bolt, blood hot and fast, soaking your robe like spilled wine. You choke back a gasp, silence is strength, and you're not here to scream. The crowd's faces blur, their whispers a dull roar. In Kamakura, women's jigai was rarer. In Edo, it's a grim ritual for those who dare defy the code. Your hands bound can't waver, but your heart's racing, screaming what your lips won't. This is jigai's cruel irony. You die to restore honour, but the world barely notices. Men's seppuku gets ballads, yours gets whispers, maybe a shrine if you're lucky. The kaishakunin's sword hovers his face blank, but his grip tight. You nod a signal, and the world tilts as steel meets flesh. The mat's a mess, now your blood, a quiet protest against a world that binds you even in death. Imagine this as a modern hashtag, just jigai, justice trending for a day then gone. Spoiler, your sacrifice fades, but the blood stains last. You're a footnote in Bushido's saga, a woman who cut her own ending. The crowd disperses, leaving your name to whispers and wind. Like Cher, tell us what's harsher than dying for honour. No one sings about the tray before, you gleams, lacquered black holding seppuku's sacred props, a tanto ink brush paper. It's 1450 Muromachi period, and you're a samurai about to turn your life into a bloody haiku. These aren't just tools, they're death stationery revered like relics in a shrine. The tanto's blade catches torchlight sharp enough to carve your shame away. The ink smells sharp, the paper's crisp, waiting for your final words. In feudal Japan, dying's an art, and this trays your palate. Imagine it as medieval Amazon one-click checkout to the afterlife 5 stars. The tanto's the star, its handle wrapped in ray skin, cool and rough under your fingers. Forged for one purpose, it's not for fighting, but for slicing your own belly, a personal apocalypse. You lift it, testing its weight, and the crowd holds its breath, their eyes glinting with awe and dread. The blade's not just steel, it's Bushido's promise cutting through disgrace to honour. In Edo, they'll polish this ritual, but here it's raw, the tanto, a grim partner in your dance with death. Its edge hums eager like it knows the script. Next, the writing set, brush inkstone paper tools for your Jisei the Death poem. You're supposed to wax poetic about cherry blossoms while your gut's waiting for the blade. The brush is delicate bamboo and horsehair, but your hands shake, smearing ink like a bad tattoo. The paper's thin, almost holy, meant to carry your soul's last whisper. Sarcasm bubbles up, this is death's bureaucracy, a form to fill before you bleed. The crowd watches expecting wisdom, but you just want to scribble, this sucks. Spoiler, you don't. These tools are seppuku's backbone, turning chaos into ceremony. The tray's lacquer shines, mocking the mess to come. You set the brush down, ink drying like blood will soon. The tanto's next, and the air's heavy incense tangling with the courtyard's dust. In Kamakura, they worship these objects. In Edo, they'll sell replicas to tourists. For now, they're yours, a samurai's grim toolkit. Like Cher, tell us what's weirder than a stationary set for suicide. The battlefield smoke still clings to your armour, Yas 33 Kamakura period, and your lord's headless body lies in the dirt. You're a samurai sworn to Bushido, and his death demands yours Junshi Seppuku for loyalty. Because in feudal Japan, love means following your boss to the grave. The camps are grim stage tents flapping like ghosts as you and a dozen others kneel white robes stark against the blood-soaked ground. Your tanto's ready, but this isn't about shame. It's about proving devotion in a world where loyalty's worth more than life. Think of it as medieval Japan's ultimate employee review. 5 stars paid in blood. You grip the blade, the air heavy with ash and incense, while comrades beside you murmur prayers. The rituals mass, a chorus of death, each samurai slicing in turn blood, pooling like a shared sacrifice. Your lord's defeat was a gut punch, but Junshi's your vow to never abandon him even in death. The crowd soldiers and retainers watch as their faces torn between grief and awe. You cut the pain a roaring fire and your robe turns crimson, blending with the others. It's not just dying, it's a pact sealed in gore that binds you to eternity. Imagine this as a team-building retreat gone horribly wrong. The moans of your comrades fill the air a grim harmony as Tantos bite flesh. Some falter blades slipping, but you keep going because hesitation's betrayal. The ground's slick blood mixing with mud and the stench iron sweat death chokes you. Bushido's a cruel master demanding this bloody encore to prove you're not just a warrior, but a shadow of your lord. In Edo they'll ban Junshi, call it wasteful, but here it's sacred, a mass suicide that screams loyalties, louder than any battle cry. Your vision fades, but you hold your smile, because even now you're performing. This is Junshi's brutal heart death as devotion a collective plunge into the void. The crowd's chants grow distant, their silhouettes blurring as your blood drains. Your lord's spirit, they say, watches, and you hope he's impressed. Spoiler. He's not here, but the story of your sacrifice will echo in samurai tales. The tanto falls from your hand, and the Keishakunin's sword looms. Like Cher, tell us what's fiercer than dying to prove you're the ultimate wingman. You're in the crowd. Edo period 1640, pressed shoulder to shoulder in a courtyard that reeks of incense and fear. A samurai kneels before you, his white robe already blooming red, tanto buried in his gut. Seppuku demands silence, so you bite your tongue, though your heart's screaming. The air's thick torchlight flickering on faces frozen in dread and fascination. This is feudal Japan's grim theatre, where a man's death is your entertainment and noise is disrespect. Imagine watching a live-streamed execution chat disabled and you're stuck feeling every second. His blood drips a steady patter on the tatami, louder than it should be in this hush. You want to look away, but Bushido's in the air heavy as the smoke, and averting your eyes is cowardice. The samurai's smile wavers, pain cracking his mask, but he keeps cutting because honour's a tyrant. You're just a merchant, maybe a farmer dragged here to witness justice for some lord's whim. Your stomach churns as the robe turns crimson, the iron tang of blood sneaking past the incense. The Keishakunin stands ready, but the samurai's not done proving himself. The silence is a weight pressing on your chest, shared by every soul around you. Someone coughs and glares, snap their way disrespects a sin here. You notice a woman clutching a prayer bead, a boy hiding his face, but no one speaks. This is Seppuku's power. It binds you all in a mute pact, complicit in the gore. In Kamakura, crowds were rowdier. In Edo, they've learned to choke on their horror. Your hands clench nails, biting palms as the samurai grunts, blade slipping. You're not here to cheer, but to bear witness, and it's heavier than you expected. This silence is Seppuku's unseen blade cutting through the crowd's heart. The blood's flow slows the samurai's breath a rattle, and you're trapped in this quiet hell waiting for the Keishakunin's swing. Like Cher, tell us what's louder than a silence that drowns a scream. You're in a dim courtyard, Muromachi period, 1400, where torchlight dances on a samurai's trembling hands. His white robe's half-red tanto stuck in his gut, but something's wrong, horribly wrong. Seppuku's supposed to be clean, a swift path to honour, but his blade slipped his cuts too shallow, and now he's lingering a living nightmare. The crowd's frozen, their silence cracking with stifled gasps as he groans, blood seeping slow like a cruel tease. This is feudal Japan's darkest blooper reel, where failure turns ritual into torture. Imagine botching your one shot at redemption, live no edits, trending for all the wrong reasons. His smile's gone, replaced by a grimace that twists your stomach. Bushido demands poise, but his hands fumble slick with blood as he tries to cut again. The tanto's edge catches, tearing more than slicing, and his scream rips through the air raw and unscripted. The Keishakunin hesitates, sword raised but frozen too early, and he steals the samurai's honour. Too late, and this horror drags on. The air's thick with incense and iron, the tatami a soggy mess soaking up a failure no one expected. In Edo they'll train for precision. Here it's a gamble and he's losing. The crowd's eyes dart, some praying others retching into their sleeves. You're just a witness, maybe a low-ranking samurai, but you feel the weight of his shame, heavy as the blood pooling at his knees. He collapses forward, still alive, moaning as the blade falls from his grip. This isn't the noble death of ballads. It's a grotesque parody, a man unravelling before a crowd that can't look away. Your nose stings with the stench, blood, sweat, fear, and the distant chirp of crickets mocks the chaos. Failure's not just dishonor, it's this a slow bleed into oblivion. Failed seppuku's the ritual's dirty secret whispered in dojos dreaded in dreams. He's still breathing barely as the kaishakunin finally swings, ending the agony with a wet thud. The crowd exhales, but the horror lingers a stain no prayer can cleanse. Spoiler, they'll talk about this for years, not his courage but his collapse. Like Cher tell us what's grimmer than a ritual gone so wrong it haunts the witnesses. The samurai's dead Edo period, 1670 his blood-soaked robe a crumpled heap on the tatami. Seppuku's main act is over, but the cleanup's just starting and it's no less grim. You're a retainer tasked with handling the aftermath as the crowd disperses their whispers fading like smoke. The courtyard's quiet now, save for the creak of a cart and the buzz of flies already circling. The body lies head-severed blood congealing in pools that glint under torchlight. This is feudal Japan's janitorial shift where honor's aftermath gets swept up like medieval recycling. Think of it as the post-credits scene nobody asked for. You approach cloth over your nose, the iron stench of blood cutting through the fading incense. The tatami's ruined, soaked through, and you roll it up heavy with gore for burning later. The body's heavier than you expected, limbs stiffening, robe clinging like a wet shroud. You and another retainer lift it onto the cartwood, groaning under the weight, and the head still grimacing goes into a sack. Family's claim remains for burial, but this one's disgraced, so it's off to a temple pyre, no ceremony, just ashes. In Kamakura they buried samurai whole. In Edo it's practical, like clearing a stage. The cart rattles as you push it through the streets, wheels crunching on gravel, the night thick with the hum of cicadas. You pass a shrine, its lanterns flickering, and wonder if his spirit's watching, pissed at the indignity. The blood's left a trail, a red smear under moonlight, and you're half convinced it's cursed. Bushido's silent now. This is grunt work, stripping death of its poetry. The temple looms priests waiting with chants and fire ready to burn away the mess. Your hands ache, stained red, despite the cloth a reminder that honor's price lingers. This is Seppuku's final chore, disposing of the body, erasing the spectacle. The pyre's heat will swallow him, but the memory of his blood stays with you. Like Cher tell us what's bleaker than carting away a hero's remains like yesterday's trash. It's 1610 Edo period, and the air in this castle courtyard crackles with defiance. A samurai kneels, white robe stark against the blood. He's about to spill his tanto, gleaming like a middle finger to his corrupt lord. This isn't seppuku for shame or loyalty, it's protest, a bloody manifesto against tyranny. His lord's greed taxing peasants to starvation pushed him here, and now he'll die to shame the bastard in front of everyone. The crowd, a mix of samurai and townsfolk, buzzes with tension, their eyes wide, knowing this death will spark whispers for years. Welcome to feudal Japan's version of a protest march where the banner's your own guts. You're among the onlookers close enough to smell the incense and see the samurai's jaw clench. He shouts voice sharp, accusing his lord of betrayal, words that burn hotter than the torches. Then he cuts tanto, ripping through flesh blood, flooding his robe like a crimson flood. The crowd flinches, but he doesn't. His eyes locked on his lord's pavilion where the man sits pale, exposed. This is Seppuku's rebellion. A samurai's last act to scream, "You're the disgrace." Imagine this on medieval Reddit, samurai owns corrupt lord with one cut. Upvote for justice. The blood pools soaking the tatami, its iron tang cutting through the air. His smile's grim, not the usual Bushido grin, but a snarl of triumph, because dying's his victory. The kaishakunin hesitates, sword raised, as if unsure whether to end this firebrand show. In Kamakura, such defiance was rare. In Edo, it's a spark that could ignite revolt. The lord's men shift hands on swords, but the crowd's too thick, too rapt. Your heart pounds caught in this moment, where one man's death flips the script on power. This is Seppuku's rarest face, a blade turned outward, cutting through lies. His body slumps, blood still flowing, and the silence breaks with murmurs, anger, or fear. The lord's name is mud now, his rule tainted by this bloody spectacle. Spoiler, he'll tighten his grip, but the samurai's death plants seeds of dissent. Like Cher tell us what's bolder than dying to call out a tyrant? You're a boy barely 10 in a Muromachi courtyard, 1420, dragged here to watch a samurai die. Your father, a low-ranking warrior, says it's training, but your knees shake as the man kneels, white robe glowing under torchlight. Seppuku's a lesson in Bushido, he claims, but all you see is blood waiting to spill. The tanto's in the samurai's hand, his smile forced, and the crowd's silence presses on you like a stone. The air's thick with incense, but it can't hide the coming stench. This is feudal Japan's twisted classroom, and you're learning fear, not honour. The samurai cuts a wet tear of flesh. and blood surges staining his robe red. You flinch, heart hammering, as the iron tang hits your nose sharp and sickening. His groan cracks the silence, and you want to run, but your father's hand grips your shoulder, rooting you. The crowd's faces are masked, stoic judging, but you're just a kid not ready for this gore. The tatami drinks the blood, a spreading pool that seems to crawl toward you. In Edo, they'll shield children from this. Here it's your initiation, a scar you'll carry forever. Your eyes dart to the Keishakunin, his sword gleaming, but he waits, letting the samurai prove his courage. The man's smile falters, pain twisting his face, and you wonder why he doesn't scream. Bushido's a mystery, a code that says dying like this is noble, but to you it's a nightmare in red and white. The blood's everywhere, the matter ruin, and your breath catches each drip louder than the priest's chants. Imagine this as a modern trauma, a kid forced to watch a live execution, no trigger warning, just blood. This is seppuku's collateral damage, a child haunted by a ritual meant to inspire. The Keishakunin swings, the head falls, and you choke back a sob, your father's grip tightening. The crowd exhales, but you're still there, staring at the blood, knowing it'll stain your dreams. Like Cher, tell us what's crueler than making a child watch death for honour. The flute's wail cuts through the courtyard. Edo period, 1650, a haunting thread in the tapestry of Seppuku. You're among the crowd, the air heavy with incense and the iron tang of blood already pooling on the tatami. A samurai kneels, white robe half soaked, his tanto flashing as he prepares to carve his honour. The music flute sometimes chants, isn't here to soothe. It's death's playlist, a grim underscore to the gore. In feudal Japan, even dying needs a soundtrack like a twisted Spotify cue for the afterlife. Imagine this, your final moment, scored by a melody that's half prayer, half dirge. The flutist hidden in shadow plays notes that tremble like the samurai's hands. Each wail sinks with his breath ragged now as he slices blood, spilling in rhythm with the tune. The crowd's silent, but the music speaks, weaving reverence into the horror. It's supposed to lift his soul, guide it to whatever's next, but to you, it's eerie like wind howling through a graveyard. The robe's crimson now, the tatami a slick mess, and the flute's pitch rises sharp as the blade. In Kamakura, chants were rougher. In Edo, it's polished a ritual score that makes death feel like theatre. You shift your sandal, crunching gravel, and catch the samurai's eye. His smile's forced, but the music holds him steady, a lifeline through the pain. The Keishakunin waits, sword gleaming as the flute weaves its spell notes, curling like smoke. The air's thick, the blood stench battling the incense, and the music's the only thing keeping this from feeling like a slaughter. Bushido's cruel genius turn a gut spilling into art with a melody. Imagine this on medieval YouTube seppuku lo-fi beats to 24/7 stream. The crowd sways hypnotized as the samurai's blood drips in time. This is seppuku's strange harmony music, draping horror in sacred silk. The flute falters as the samurai slumps, the Keishakunin swing, ending the song with a wet thud. The notes linger ghostly as the crowd exhales. Spoiler, the music's what you'll remember, not his name. Like Cher, tell us what's weirder than a flute serenading a man's self-destruction. It's 1800 late Edo period, and the dojo's empty tatami faded the air stale without the tang of blood. Seppuku's fading a relic in a Japan inching toward modernity. You're a samurai, but your tanto's dusty, and honor's less about blades and more about paperwork. The shogun's court prefers symbolic acts, exile house arrest to the messy spectacle of gut spilling. Bushido's still preached, but the ritual's losing its grip like a song you hum but don't believe. Think of it as feudal Japan's blockbuster going straight to VHS, outdated but not forgotten. Courtyards that once echoed with screams now host tea ceremonies, the white robes packed away. You walk past a shrine, its lanterns dim, and hear whispers of the old days samurai, who died for loyalty, shame, or defiance. In Kamakura, seppuku was raw, a warrior's oath. In early Edo it was high art. Now it's a ghost, banned outright by 1873, replaced by laws that frown on bloodbaths. The Keishakunin's sword is a museum piece, and the crowd's silence is just memory. The air's clean, no incense or iron, just the faint whiff of sake from a nearby stall. You pause at a merchant's stall where a woodblock print shows a samurai mid-cut, romanticised bloodless. The reality gore pain madness is fading from stories polished into legend. Young samurai train with bokken, not tantos, and honour's a quieter thing, less about death and more about duty. You wonder if it's progress or loss. The tatamis unstain, the ritual's gone, but Bushido's shadow lingers heavy as ever. Imagine this as a modern pivot seppuku, rebranded as Honor Without the Mess. Spoiler, it's less epic but easier to clean. This is seppuku's twilight, a ritual outliving its time. The empty dojo hums with ghosts, their blades silent, their sacrifices fading into tales. Like Cher, tell us what's stranger than a tradition, bleeding out without a cut. You're a samurai Kamakura period. 1320, kneeling in a courtyard, white robe, crisp tanto gleaming on the tray before you. Your lord's disgrace, or maybe your own, has led you here to seppuku, where honor demands your blood. But it's not the blade that haunts you. It's your mind, a storm of dread and duty, screaming to run while Bushido chains you to the mat. The crowd's a blur, their silence a weight, and your thoughts race memories of battles, sake a lover's laugh, all colliding with the cold truth you're about to gut yourself for a code. Welcome to feudal Japan's mental gymnastics, where courage is just fear in a fancy robe. Your pulse hammers sweat beads despite the cool air, and you wonder if anyone sees the panic behind your forced calm. Bushido says you're a warrior stoic, ready to die, but your mind's a traitor whispering, "What if you live?" The tanto's edge mocks you, promising pain, not peace. You think of your father, his own seppuku years ago, and how you swore you'd be braver. Spoiler, you're not. The incense burns your nose, mixing with the courtyard's dust, and each breath feels stolen. Imagine this as a modern therapy session. So why do you feel pressured to disembowel yourself? The Kaishakunin's shadow looms his sword, a grim promise, but it's your thoughts that cut deeper. Duty's a noose loyalty to your lord, your name, your clan, and it tightens with every second. You could flee, disgrace your family, live as a ronin, but the shame would be worse than death. Or so they say. Your mind flashes to the jisei you wrote some nonsense about cherry blossoms, and you almost laugh. Poetry's a weak shield against this terror. The crowd's eyes bore into you expecting a hero, but you're just a man drowning in your own head. This is seppuku's hidden battle, the mind's war before the blades bite. You grip the tanto, your thoughts, a scream silenced by duty, and the world narrows to this moment. Like Cher, tell us what's heavier than a mind choosing death over shame. The samurai's gone, Edo period, 1660, his body carted away, but the tatami mat remains a sodden ruin under torchlight. You're a retainer staring at this blood-soaked canvas, where seppuku painted its grim masterpiece. The mat's straw core drinks the crimson sticky and dark, the iron stench clawing at your throat. Once pristine, laid for honor's ritual, it's now a relic of gore, revered yet reviled. In feudal Japan, this tatami's not just flooring, it's a witness, a shrine to a samurai's final act. Think of it as medieval crime scene decor, too sacred to scrub. You kneel tasked with rolling it up, but the blood's heavy, seeping through the straw, staining your hands. The crowd's gone, their silence replaced by cicadas and the crackle of torches, but the mat holds their dread, his pain in every sodden fibre. The samurai's smile is trembling cut, his kaishakunin's swing all etched in red. In Kamakura, they burn these mats without fanfare. In Edo, some families keep them morbid heirlooms to prove their kin's courage. You lift an edge, the mat squelching and flies buzz drawn to the feast. Honor's canvas sure, but it smells like a slaughterhouse. The blood's dried in patches, flaking like rust, but wet pools linger gleaming under the light. You wonder what this mat's seen, how many samurai, how many screams. Bushido calls it noble, but this is raw, unfiltered death, no poetry to soften it. The incense lingers faint now, overwhelmed by the metallic reek. You roll it tighter, straw-crunching blood smearing your sleeves, and think of the samurai's name already fading. Spoiler, the mat's the real story outlasting his honor. Imagine this on medieval eBay authentic seppuku tatami, slightly used haunted vibes. This is seppuku's silent partner, the tatami that catches the cost of Bushido. You drag it to the pyre, its weight a reminder that honor's messy even after the ritual ends. Like Cher, tell us what's grimmer than a mat that drinks a warrior's life. You're in a smoky tea house. Edo period, 1700, where a storyteller's voice weaves through the flicker of oil lamps. The crowd leans in rapt as he spins tales of seppuku samurai who sliced their bellies with such grace, their blood sparkled like rubies. These are legends polished by time, where the gore's a mere backdrop to noble sacrifice. The reality screams botched cuts, blood-soaked tatami gets buried under poetic fluff. In feudal Japan, seppuku's myth outshines its mess, turning horror into heroics. Think of it as medieval PR spin the slaughter into a samurai blockbuster. The storyteller's hands dance mimicking a Tanto's arc as he describes a warrior who smiled through his final cut, his spirit soaring to join the kami. You sip-sack the burn sharp and roll your eyes. You've seen seppuku, the stench, the trembling hands, the kaishakunin's grim swing. No rubies, just red, sticky and raw. But the crowd eats it up, gasping at the tale of a samurai who died to save his lord's honour, his blood blessing the earth. In Kamakura, these stories were raw. In Edo, their art scrubbed clean for the masses. Firelight plays on the listeners' faces, some tearful others nodding like they've glimpsed Bushido's soul. The storyteller's voice drops husky as he claims the samurai's ghost guards his clan's shrine. You snort ghosts don't haunt tatami, they haunt the witnesses. Legends like these glorify the blade, making young samurai dream of dying, while not living free. The air's thick with smoke and reverence, but you smell the lie sharper than the sake. Bushido's a salesman, and Seppuku's its best pitch selling death as destiny. This is Seppuku's afterlife myth over truth blood turned to ballad. The storyteller ends and the crowd claps blind to the ritual's grim cost. Spoiler, the real story's in the stains, not the songs. Like should tell us what's slicker than a legend that polishes gore into glory. You stand at the edge of a quiet dojo, 1800 late Edo, where the ghosts of seppuku linger in the faded tatami. The ritual's nearly extinct, outlawed soon, but its shadow clings heavy as blood. You're no samurai, just a wanderer tracing the echoes of a code that demanded men carve their honour from their flesh. Seppuku was Japan's brutal mirror reflecting a world where shame outweighed survival, where a blade spoke louder than a life. This is feudal Japan's epitaph written in crimson, asking why humans chase honour to the grave. The air's still no incense, no iron tang, just the hum of wind through paper screens. You think of the samurai, their trembling hands, forced smiles, the kaishakunin swing and wonder what they gained. Honour's a hungry god devouring lives for a name that fades. In Kamakura it was raw, a warrior's oath. In Edo it became theatre, then relic. You've heard the legend, seen the blood-stained mats, felt the crowd's silence. Each cut was a story, but the ending's always the same, a body, a pyre, a fleeting tale. Bushido's legacy is this paradox, glory through gore, defiance through death. You step onto the tatami at straw crunching and imagine the weight of a tanto in your hand. The samurai's mind, the crowd's dread, the music's wail, they're gone. But their echo asks why humans then and now chase ideals, honour duty fame until they bleed. Seppuku's just the sharpest example, a ritual that stripped life to its rawest truth. We're fragile, yet we defy. The dojo's empty, but it hums with their defiance, their cost. Spoiler honour's no prize, just a blade that cuts both ways. This is Seppuku's final note, a reflection on a ritual that bared humanity's obsession with meaning. The wind carries the past, and you walk away haunted by their choices. Like Cher, tell us what's more human than dying for a name. You're in a Muramachi shrine 1400 where the ground trembles like it's scared of the giants in the ring. Sumo's no mere sport here. It's a Shinto ritual, and these wrestlers are stomping out demons with thighs thicker than tree trunks. The Shiko ritual begins each wrestler lifting a leg high, then slamming it down the earth shaking like it's begging for mercy. The crowd's hushed, half expecting actual spirits to scatter. Welcome to feudal Japan's divine workout, where a foot stomp's more sacred than your best yoga pose. Think of it as medieval cardio with a side of exorcism. The wrestler's mawashi clings tight, sweat gleaming under torchlight as he stomps again, dust rising like startled ghosts. Each thud's a prayer meant to purify the dohyo, banishing evil with sheer mass. You're close enough to feel the ground quake, the air thick with incense and the salty tang of effort. These men are gods in flesh, their bulk a gift to the kami, their stomps a rhythm older than the shrine itself. In Edo they'll turn this into sport. Here it's holy, like a divine dance-off with the underworld. The crowd sways, chanting low, their faith pinned on these giants to keep the world safe. Your sandals crunch on gravel, and you wonder if the demons feel this quake in their bones. The wrestler's face is stone-focused, as if he's stomping on more than earth. Maybe his own doubts. The air hums incense curling, and each stomp echoes like a drumbeat for the gods. Spoiler, no demons show up, but the crowd's convinced they're gone. Like, share. Tell us what's wilder than stomping evil into submission. The doyo's a circle of clay Muromachi period 1450, packed tight and sprinkled with salt like a sacred sandbox. You're at a shrine watching priests purify this ring, their chants mingling with the rustle of banners. Sumo's not just wrestling, it's a ritual where the doyo's as holy as an altar built to host gods in human form. Salt's tossed in handfuls believed to banish impurity, because in feudal Japan nothing says clean like a pinch of sodium. Imagine this as medieval Japan's ultimate VIP lounge entry fee divine bulk. The ring's edges are straw bales woven tight, dusted with more salt that crunches underfoot. You smell the sharp tang of it mixed with incense and the crowd's sweat. The wrestlers wait their mawashi gleaming while priests scatter salt like it's confetti for the kami. The doyo's centre is untouched, waiting for giants to clash each step, a prayer etched in clay. In Edo they'll fancy this up. Here it's raw, the ring, a sacred stage where men become myths. Your eyes sting from the incense, but you can't look away. The crowd murmurs reverent as the salt settles the doyo glowing under torchlight. You're just a villager, but you feel the weight of this place like the gods are watching. The ring's ready, pure a canvas for divine combat. Spoiler, it's still just dirt, but no one dares say it. Like share, tell us what's holier than a clay circle salted against evil. You're in a Muromachi village 1490, where a sumo wrestler's table groans under bowls of chankanabe stew, steaming with fish vegetables and enough rice to feed a small army. These giants eat like gods, piling on pounds to embody divine strength, their mawashi, straining as they shovel in 10,000 calories a day. The air's thick with the savoury tang of broth and the clink of wooden bowls, a feast that's less meal, more ritual. In feudal Japan, a wrestler's bulk is sacred proof the kami favour a hefty frame. Think of it as medieval Japan's all-you-can-eat buffet where the prize is godhood. The wrestler before you downs his 10th bowl, sweat beading on his brow, his gut a monument to Shinto's whims. You're a villager watching this gluttony with awe, knowing each bite fuels the stomps that banish demons. The stew's aroma, soy seaweed chicken fills the room, but it's the sheer volume that stuns like watching a mountain grow. In Edo, they'll streamline this diet. Here it's a chaotic gorge bowls stacked like offerings. Your stomach rumbles, but you're not invited. This feast is for titans, not mortals. The crowd murmurs, praising the wrestler's appetite as a sign of divine favour. He belches a sound like thunder and grabs another bowl rice grain sticking to his chin. The air's warm steam curling, and you wonder if his strength really comes from stew or sheer will. Spoiler, it's both, but the stew's the star. Like Cher, tell us what's wilder than eating your way to divinity. It's 1440 Muromachi period, and the doyo's a blur of sweat and muscle as two sumo giants lock in a match that's dragged on for hours. The crowd packed around the sacred ring sways between cheers and snores, their fervour fading as the wrestlers refuse to yield. The air's heavy with dust and incense, the clay ring scuffed from endless shuffles. In feudal Japan, sumo's a divine clash, but this marathon's testing everyone's faith like a holy standoff that forgot its script. Imagine it as medieval Japan's version of a Netflix binge stuck on buffering. The wrestlers grunt, their mawashi soaked each push a testament to stamina the kami must love. You're in the crowd, your legs numb, watching these titans shove like mountains arguing. Sweat drips splattering the doyo, and the crowd's chants falter, some dozing against neighbours. In Edo, matches will be quicker. Here endurance is the god they worship. Your throat's dry, the air thick with salt and effort, but you can't look away. This is sacred gridlock, a test of wills older than the shrine. A cheer erupts as one wrestler stumbles, but he recovers the match dragging on. The crowd's half asleep yet transfixed, believing this struggle pleases the gods. Spoiler, the gods might be napping too. Like Cher, tell us what's crazier than a divine duel that outlasts the audience. Dawn breaks over a Muromachi village 1430, and you're watching a sumo wrestler train his bulk heaving under the first light. The air's crisp, smelling of dew and straw as he squats, lifts and stomps, sculpting a body the kami might envy. This isn't just exercise, it's a sacred grind, turning men into divine giants for the doyo. In feudal Japan, training's a ritual dawn to dusk labour to earn a god's nod. Think of it as medieval CrossFit with a spiritual subscription where every sweat drop's a prayer. He lunges thighs like temple pillars, grunting as he slams into a wooden post, the thud echoing across the field. You're a villager, awed by his grit, your own muscles aching just watching. The trainer barks, demanding more squats, more shoves, more pain. Sweat soaks his mawashi, the ground churned to mud beneath his feet. In Edo, they'll organise this into stables. Here it's raw, a lone giant forging divinity through sheer will. The air's alive with his laboured breaths mingling with the scent of pine from nearby trees. The crowd sparse at this hour murmurs praise seeing the kami in his bulk. He collapses after a final push chest heaving, and you feel the weight of his calling. Spoiler divinity is built on blisters, not miracles. Like Cher tell us what's tougher than training to become a god. It's 1410, a Muromachi shrine, and the dohyo glows under lantern light as a sumo victor stands sweat-slicked chest heaving. The crowd believes he's touched by the kami, his win a divine fist bump blessing the village. In feudal Japan, sumo's more than sport. It's a conduit to the gods, each victory a prayer answered. The air hums with shrine bells and the crowds chants their faith as thick as the incense curling skyward. Imagine this as medieval Japan's ESPN, where the highlight reel's got a heavenly sponsor. The wrestler's mawashi glistens his bulk, a testament to sacred feasts and grueling dawns. You're in the crowd, feeling the victory's weight as priests sprinkle salt, sealing the kami's favour. His roar echoes a sound to wake gods, and the crowd cheers, convinced his strength guards their crops their homes. In Edo, they'll commercialise this. Here it's pure a moment where mortal muscle meets divine will. The air's sharp with salt and awe, the dohyo are bridged to the heavens. His eyes gleam maybe with pride, maybe exhaustion, but the crowd sees the kami's light. Spoiler, he's human, but don't tell the gods. Like Cher, tell us what's grander than a win that blesses a village. You're packed into a Muromachi festival, 1440, where banners snap in the breeze and the dohyo sits like a clay throne under a shrine's eaves. Sumo's not just a match here, it's a divine pageant with wrestlers as gods, and the crowd as worshippers, their cheers shaking the air. The air's thick with incense-grilled fish, and the sweat of anticipation as giants in mawashi strut into the ring. In feudal Japan, this is a holy Coachella, where every stomp and shove feels like a gift to the kami. Think of it as medieval Japan's Super Bowl with more salt and fewer commercials. The wrestlers circle their bulk, casting shadows that dance with the flickering lanterns. You're a villager shoulder to shoulder with merchants and priests, your voice hoarse from chanting. The dohyo's salted pure and the crowd's fervour spikes as the giants clash their grunts echoing like thunder. Banners flutter painted with clan crests and the air buzzes with the thrill of divinity made flesh. In Edo they'll pack stadiums. Here it's raw, a festival where the gods drop by for a grapple. Your sandals stick in the dirt, the scent of sake mingling with sacred smoke. The crowd roars as one wrestler lifts another a mountain, moving a mountain, and you feel the kami watching. Spoiler, it's spectacle, but it's holy binding earth to heaven. Like Cher tell us what's louder than a festival where giants fight for the gods. It's 1800 late Edo, and you stand in a quiet shrine, the dohyo's clay-worn but still sacred. Sumo's evolved now, a sport with crowds and prizes, but its roots hum in the air, tying today's giants to their Muromachi ancestors. Those ancient wrestlers, stomping demons and eating for the kami, left a legacy that echoes in every match. In feudal Japan, sumo was a prayer. Now it's a tradition, its sacred heart beating under the cheers. Imagine it as medieval Japan's gift to the future, a ritual that outlived its gods. You touch the dohyo's edge, feeling the grit of salt and clay, and hear faint echoes of old chants. The air's soft, no longer thick with incense, but the ghosts of those giants linger their feasts, their stomps, their divine winds. In Muromachi they were demigods. In Edo they're heroes, their legacy carved in the ring's unbroken circle. Your breath catches the shrine's silence heavy with their story, tying sumo's past to its present. Spoiler, the kami still watch, even if the crowd's here for the show. The modern dohyo gleams, but it's built on those ancient quakes. Like Cher, tell us what's stronger than a legacy that turns wrestlers into myths. You step into the Kanazawa library where shadows cling to wooden beams and the air smells of old cedar and ink heavy with the weight of secrets. Rows of locked chests line the walls, each one guarding scrolls and tomes treated like relics, their iron clasps gleaming faintly in the lamplight. A monk brushes past his robe, whispering, and you hear a chest's lock creak, as if it resents its own silence. This isn't a library. It's a medieval vault for knowledge too sacred or dangerous to touch. The floor creaks underfoot and you feel the gaze of unseen eyes, the chest's contents rumoured to hold war strategies, Buddhist sutras or something darker. Picture a Lovecraftian archive where every book might bite. Locals swear some chests rattle at night unopened and you catch a faint hum like a breath trapped in wood. The monks guard these treasures with a zeal that borders on fear, their keys worn like talismans. One wrong touch and you're cursed, or so they say. Share your creepiest library tale in the comments. This place locks more than just books away. You step into the Kanazawa library, where shadows cling to wooden beams and the air smells of old cedar and ink heavy with the weight of secrets. Rows of locked chests line the walls, each one guarding scrolls and tomes treated like relics, their iron clasps gleaming faintly in the lamplight. A monk brushes past his robe, whispering, and you hear a chest's lock creak as if it resents its own silence. This isn't a library. It's a medieval vault for knowledge too sacred or dangerous to touch. The floor creaks underfoot, and you feel the gaze of unseen eyes, the chest's contents, rumoured to hold war strategies, Buddhist sutras or something darker. Picture a Lovecraftian archive where every book might bite. Locals swear some chests rattle at night unopened, and you catch a faint hum like a breath trapped in wood. The monks guard these treasures with a zeal that borders on fear, their keys worn like talismans. One wrong touch, and you're cursed, or so they say. Share your creepiest library tale in the comments. This place locks more than just books away. A monk hunches over a low table in the Kanazawa library, his brush trembling as he copies a sutra, each stroke a prayer under the flicker of a dying lamp. His eyes are bloodshot, his hands stained with ink that seeps like blood, and you smell the sharp tang of it mingling with the musty air of ancient parchment. He's been at this for hours, maybe days, the weight of sacred words crushing him. Collapse, his common pages ruined by a monk's exhausted slump. This isn't scholarship. It's medieval carpal tunnel with enlightenment as the only paycheck. The library's silence is oppressive, broken only by the scratch of his brush, and you notice his fingers twitch as if the text fights back. Whispers say some monks dream of the words they copy, waking with screams. Picture a scribe's desk as a battlefield where ink's the enemy. The floor's littered with stray paper, and you feel the chill of a room that hoards secrets. One slip, and he's defiled a holy text. Share your grueling task story in the comments. This library's monks carry more than just words. Deep in the Kanazawa library, a single tome rests in a chained chest, its leather cover cracked like old skin, rumoured to curse readers with visions or sleepless nights. You stand frozen as a monk hesitates to touch it, his fingers hovering the air thick with dust and dread. Locals whisper it holds forbidden war tactics or spells, and those who read it see blood-soaked fields in their dreams, medieval, haunted kindle anyone. The library's lamplight flickers, casting shadows that seem to writhe across the book's surface, and you smell mildew and something sharper like fear itself. The monk mutters a prayer, his voice barely a thread as if the tome might hear. Picture a book that reads you back its pages, heavy with malice. Some say it was written by a mad warrior monk, its ink mixed with ash from burned shrines. The chest's chain clinks unbidden, and you step back, heart racing. The silence now await. This library guards knowledge, but this book feels like a trap. One page, and you're lost. Share your spookiest book tale in the comments. This tome's no bedtime story. The Kanazawa library at midnight is a tomb of shadows where locals swear the books, whisper their pages, rustling like breaths in the dark. You linger, the only soul left, as a faint creak echoes from the stacks, and you smell cold stone and fading incense, the air alive with unseen eyes. A scroll on a nearby shelf trembles, its edge curling as if turned by an invisible hand. Folklore claims spirits of scribes haunt these halls, guarding or cursing their work. This isn't a library. It's a medieval séance waiting to go wrong. You hear a soft hum like a voice half-formed, and your skin prickles the floor, creaking underfoot as you edge toward the door. Picture a ghost story, where the ghosts are the books themselves jealous of their secrets.